He found it 20 years too late, hidden in a place no one thought to look. An envelope with his name in her handwriting, but the letter inside was never finished. Diana had started writing, then stopped. And what Harry read in those incomplete sentences changed everything he thought he knew about that summer. August 2017, Kensington Palace. Prince Harry was preparing for the 20th anniversary of his mother's death. 20 years since that phone call in the middle of the night. 20 years since his world ended at age 12. The palace was organizing memorial events, interviews, tributes. Harry had agreed to participate, to speak publicly about his mother, but he wasn't ready for what he was about to discover. The staff were clearing out storage rooms in Diana's old apartments, rooms that had been sealed since 1997, rooms that held her clothes, her books, her private papers, everything exactly as she'd left it that August. Harry had avoided these rooms for 2 decades, too painful, too raw, too final. But now, at 32, he felt ready to face the physical remnants of his mother's life. He walked through the sitting room where she'd read to him as a child, the desk where she'd written letters and paid bills, the wardrobe where her dresses still hung in protective covers, everything frozen in time, waiting. A staff member approached him hesitantly. "Your Royal Highness, we found something. In her desk. Hidden in a false bottom drawer." She handed him a cream-colored envelope, his name written on the front in Diana's distinctive handwriting. Harry. Just his name. Nothing else. Not Prince Harry. Not my darling son. Just Harry in her flowing script, the way she'd written his name 1,000 times, on birthday cards, on notes in his lunchbox, on Christmas gifts. He knew that handwriting like he knew his own heartbeat. His hand started shaking before he even opened it. The envelope was sealed, never opened, never read, which meant Diana had written this and hidden it, intending to give it to him later, never getting the chance. He dismissed the staff. He needed to be alone for this. He sat in his mother's chair, at her desk. The leather still held the shape of her body after 20 years. 20 years of dust disturbed by his presence. The room smelled of old perfume and memories. He turned the envelope over in his hands. Cream-colored, expensive. Her monogram on the back. He could open it. Or he could leave it sealed forever. Some part of him wanted to leave it. Because once he read it, he couldn't unread it. Whatever Diana had written, it would change things. And maybe he didn't want things to change. Maybe 20 years of grieving was enough. Maybe he didn't need more pain. But his mother had written him a letter, and he couldn't not read it. He opened the envelope carefully, trying not to tear it. Inside 2 pages, cream stationery with her monogram, Diana's handwriting filling the first page, then stopping halfway, through the second. The letter was dated August 20th, 1997, 11 days before she died. Harry's breath caught. His vision blurred with sudden tears. 11 days. She'd been alive for 11 more days. Had walked and talked and breathed for 11 more days. And then nothing. Gone. Forever. He wiped his eyes and started reading. "My darling Harry, I'm writing this letter because I need you to understand something. By the time you read this, you'll be older. Old enough to understand things I can't explain to you now. You're only 12. Still my baby, still so innocent. But I know the world won't let you stay innocent forever. So I'm writing this. For the day when you need to know. Harry, I'm afraid." I don't write those words lightly. I'm not a fearful person, but I'm afraid of what's being planned, what's being discussed. There are people who see me as a problem to be solved. Not a person, not a mother, not someone who deserves to live. Just an obstacle, an embarrassment, a threat to plans. I've heard things, overheard conversations, been warned by people who care about me. They're planning something. I don't know exactly what, but I know it involves cars and accidents and making it look natural. I know how insane this sounds. I know you'll think I'm paranoid. Maybe I am. Maybe the pressure has finally broken me. But Harry, my darling boy, I need you to know, if something happens to me, if there's an accident or an incident, please don't believe it was chance. Please don't believe it was fate. Please ask questions. Please demand answers. Please remember that your mother loved you and William more than life, and I would never leave you by choice. Never. If I die in an accident, it wasn't an accident. If I die in Paris, look at who benefits from my silence. If I die in August 1997, remember I wrote this letter warning you. Harry, you need to... The letter stopped. Mid-sentence, mid-thought, mid-warning, just empty space where words should have been. Diana had stopped writing, put down her pen, and never picked it up again. Never finished the thought, never completed the warning. Never told Harry what he needed to know. Harry stared at the incomplete sentence, the unfinished warning. You need to... What? What did she need him to know? What did she need him to do? Investigate, run, fight, trust no one? The not knowing was torture. He turned the second page over, looking for more, desperate for another word, another sentence, anything. But there was nothing, just blank green paper, mocking him with its emptiness. 11 days later, Diana was dead, in Paris, in a car accident, in August 1997, exactly as she'd predicted in this unfinished letter. Every single detail she'd feared had come true. Harry felt something break inside him, not the clean break of sudden grief, but the slow shattering of everything he'd believed for 20 years. For 20 years, he'd believed what everyone told him. A tragic accident, bad luck, drunk driver, paparazzi, chase. Wrong place, wrong time. No one to blame. Nothing to investigate. Just terrible, random, meaningless tragedy. His therapist had helped him accept it. The randomness, the senselessness, the cruel lottery of fate, and he'd worked so hard to accept it. To make peace. To believe his mother's death meant nothing except loss. But his mother had known. She'd predicted her own death. She'd written it down, dated it, hidden it, waiting for someone to find it, waiting for him to find it. And now everything was different. Now his mother's death wasn't random. It was planned, predicted, maybe even arranged. And she'd tried to warn them, tried to leave evidence, but she'd run out of time. Harry read the letter again, then again, then again. Each time the words hit harder, meant more, revealed more. I'm afraid. Diana had been terrified. They're planning something. It wasn't paranoia, it was real. If something happens to me, it wasn't an accident. She'd known. If I die in Paris? Specific, exact, prophetic. Look at who benefits from my silence. Follow the motive. His mother had been terrified, and she'd been right to be. Whatever she feared had come true. Exactly as she described. Whatever she feared had come true. Harry stood up, started pacing Diana's sitting room, the room where she'd read him bedtime stories, where she'd kissed his scraped knees and dried his tears, where she'd promised him everything would be okay. She'd lied. Or rather, she'd been lied to. Nothing was okay. Nothing had been okay since 1997, and now he knew. She'd seen it coming. She'd tried to warn them, tried to leave evidence, but she'd run out of time. The letter was dated August 20th. Diana flew to Saint-Tropez on August 21st. She must have been interrupted, called away, meaning to finish the letter later, never getting the chance. Harry looked around the room with new eyes. Had she hidden other things? Other warnings? Had she left more evidence that no one had found? He started searching, carefully, systematically, opening drawers, checking book spines, examining picture frames, looking for anything his mother might have hidden. An hour later, he found something else, a small notebook tucked behind books on the shelf. Diana's handwriting filling page after page, dates, names, conversations she'd overheard. August 10th, heard Charles on phone, said, problem will be resolved soon. August 12th, security changed again, third time this month. Why? August 15th, friend called, said be careful, said plans being made. August 18th, overhead staff, after Paris, everything changes. Diana had been documenting everything, building a record of her final weeks, creating evidence in case something happened. And something had happened, exactly as she'd feared. Harry sat on the floor, surrounded by his mother's secrets, the letter, the notebook, 20 years of unanswered questions. He thought about calling William, showing him what he'd found. But William had made his peace with their mother's death, accepted the official story, moved on, built a life. Would showing him this help, or would it destroy that peace? Harry didn't know. He couldn't decide. So he sat alone with Diana's words, with her fear, her warnings, her unfinished letter. Harry, you need to. He needed to what? What did she want from him? To investigate? To demand answers? To tell the truth? Or to let it go? To accept what happened? To protect himself? He'd never know. She'd never finish the sentence. The weeks after finding the letter were torture. Harry went through the memorial events in a daze, smiling for cameras, giving interviews about his mother, saying all the right things about tragic accidents and cherished memories, but inside he was screaming. He knew something no one else knew. His mother had predicted her own death, had warned them it was coming, and no one had listened. No one had protected her. He started investigating quietly, privately, reading everything about that night in Paris, the crash, the investigation, the inquest, looking for inconsistencies, for clues, for proof, and he found plenty. The driver who was supposedly drunk had passed medical tests hours earlier. The paparazzi who were blamed weren't actually that close to the car. The security arrangements that night were unusual, improvised, chaotic. The route through the tunnel was a last-minute change. And the white Fiat Uno that may have caused the crash? Never found, never identified, never investigated properly. Every answer led to more questions. Every explanation had holes. And Diana's letter sat in Harry's safe. Physical proof that she'd known, that she'd been afraid, that someone had wanted her dead. But what could he do with it? Going public would destroy the royal family, would paint his father as a murderer, his grandmother as complicit, would tear apart the only family he had left. Staying silent would mean Diana's death remained unexplained, her fears dismissed, her warnings ignored, would mean the people responsible got away with it. Harry was trapped between truth and loyalty, between justice for his mother and protection for his family, between the son who loved Diana and the prince who served the crown. The letter gave no guidance. It just stopped. Harry, you need to... He needed to choose. That's what she'd meant. He needed to decide what mattered more, and he needed to live with that choice. Years passed. Harry met Meghan, fell in love, got married, and slowly his choice became clear. He couldn't expose his father, couldn't destroy the monarchy, but he could leave it. He could step away from the institution that maybe killed his mother, could build a life outside the system that had failed to protect her, could tell his own truth, even if not all of it. When Harry and Meghan left the royal family, everyone assumed it was about the press, about racism, about privacy. And those things were true. They were part of it, but Harry carried another reason, a secret reason, a cream-colored envelope with his name on it, an unfinished letter from a mother who'd known she was in danger, a choice between truth and family. He chose family, but on his own terms. He chose to leave rather than stay silent, chose distance over complicity, chose his children's safety over royal duty, because Diana had taught him something in that letter. That silence protects no one. That fear is real even when people call you paranoid. That sometimes the only way to survive is to leave. She tried to leave. She'd planned to move to America, to start over, to build a new life away from the palace. She'd almost made it, almost escaped. And then Paris happened. Harry wouldn't make the same mistake. He'd leave while he still could. While his children were young, while escape was possible, he'd finish what Diana couldn't finish. The letter stays hidden. Harry's never shown it to anyone. Not William, not his wife, not investigators or journalists. It's his secret, his burden, his inheritance from Diana. Some people call him a coward for leaving. Say he abandoned duty, betrayed family, ran away. They don't know about the letter, don't know what Diana wrote, what she predicted, what she feared. Don't know that Harry's been living with his mother's terror for years, trying to honor her memory while protecting everyone else. The letter is incomplete, the warning unfinished. But Harry heard it anyway. Harry, you need to leave. You need to protect yourself. You need to choose life over duty, love over loyalty. You need to break free before they break you. That's what Diana had meant to write. Harry's sure of it. Even though the words aren't there, even though she never finished the sentence. He knows. because he's her son, and sons always understand their mothers, even 20 years too late, even when the letter is incomplete, even when the truth can never be spoken. August 2024, California. Harry sits in his home office, far from London, far from the palace, far from danger. The letter is in his desk, still hidden, still secret. Sometimes he takes it out, reads it again. My darling Harry, I'm afraid. He's not afraid anymore, not the way Diana was, because he did what she'd wanted to do. He left, he escaped, he built a new life, he finished what his mother started, and maybe that's what she'd meant to write. Maybe the incomplete sentence was meant to end. Harry, you need to save yourself. He did. He saved himself. He saved his family. He broke free of the institution that maybe killed his mother. And the letter? The proof? The unfinished warning? It stays hidden. It stays secret, because some truths are too dangerous to tell. Some letters are meant to stay unfinished. Some warnings can only be heeded, not shared. Diana knew that. That's why she hid the letter. Not so Harry would expose everything, but so he'd understand. So he'd choose wisely. So he'd survive. 20 years later, he finally understood. The letter wasn't about revenge. It was about survival. It wasn't about destroying the family. It was about saving himself. It wasn't a call to war. It was permission to leave. And Harry took that permission, held it close, let it guide him, away from palaces and protocols and danger, toward life and love and freedom. The letter is incomplete, the sentence unfinished. But Harry knows what his mother meant to say, and he spent 7 years proving he understood. Some letters don't need endings. Some warnings don't need words. Some truths live in silence, and some sons carry their mother's secrets not to destroy the world, but to survive it.